to call this meeting to order, and we'll have roll call. Ashley White is present. Jeffrey Cohen.
Present.
Chris Colson.
Present.
Andrea Frazier. Present. Sandra Freeman. Present. Ken Daniels.
Present.
William Pepper Alston.
Present.
And Chris Ott.
Present.
Perfect. Can we all stand when you join in the motion?
Recommendation.
Of course.
Since we're here as a body of council with forum, our presiding officer should call this body to order as well.
Okay.
And then we can do the other stuff all together.
Perfect.
All right, council members present all around, and call the meeting in favor. I'll call the meeting to order. Any objections? I'll call the roll. Councilman Brown. Present.
Present.
Don Tennant is here. And Kent is also present. Chris is present. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Beautiful.
If you join me in the Lord's Prayer. Our Father,
Art in heaven. Hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. Earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread. And forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. And thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Amen. Chris is going to read our civility pledge.
I pledge to build a stronger and more prosperous community by advocating for civil engagement, respecting others and their viewpoints, and finding solutions for the betterment of my city or town.
Thank you. Okay. Well, it's not on the agenda.
That was an honestly an all accident that it wasn't on the agenda. I do apologize for that. Technically, it's not on there, but I mean, we all do it. I just would suggest doing it if it's not on the agenda.
All right, I'll take the administrator's question then. Yep. Okay.
Yes.
And just for a clarification, we do have Councilwoman Gasper. She is remote via Zoom.
Okay. Thank you, Grace. Number 4, approval for the previous meeting minutes of December 9, 2025. Do you have a motion?
I second.
Discussion?
I have one comment on the minutes, and I'm just trying to find it. It said in here that we approved the event for the park. Now I can't find it, I'm searching through it, but it said that we approved it. And we did approve it, subject to further review by our events committee, which is headed up by William, and more information. So I thought that the record ought to state that correctly, that we approved it preliminarily subject to additional information and review by the events committee.
Yeah, under number 6B, it does say board discussion, board members requesting clarification on site layout, logistics, parking cleanup, liability, insurance, and financial implications and potential revenue for the town.
See, they'll have the motion.
You're right.
Right, motion to recommend was approved, yeah. It says all in favor, it's motion carried, so that's where we need to.
So it's just missing with county approval.
Yeah.
Well, and we had a
Recommended
subject to, we had a subject to for your committee to approve it, and subject to, because we're just getting started, we don't really know what we can do yet.
I agree.
So it'd be a motion to recommend and then a second and then vote on the motions.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to amend the minutes to state that the approval was subject to further review by the events committee and I'm losing my friend document and the approval of council and any other subject things that we were going to talk about as a group.
I second. The vote. Liz agrees?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposes? So,
And then vote as a whole, as the, of the meeting minutes as amended.
okay, so we need a motion on the floor for that too. Motion to approve. With the adjustment. Right. That's. All those agree? Aye. Okay, number 5, joint work session with town council regarding the board objectives. One, council, thank you and mayor, thank you for being here tonight. And this isn't your regular scheduled meetings, but we appreciate your time and your concern. This is my first time having a session, so at this point, unless I have other advice from town administrator, I'll just open the floor up.
Yes, this is the point for if you guys have any questions of council related to the ordinance, a copy of that ordinance has been printed out for everybody to look at. Any kind of questions for objectives and kind of the intent and moving forward or any kind of other suggestions, it's more of a free flowing conversation where the council to be able to hear you guys and the council to also discuss with y'all as well related to the ordinance.
I guess my first ask or request is just to kind of make the language clear on the ordinance itself. For example, the very last page, or let me start with the second last page. Where it says duties and responsibilities, says proposed annual budget for town council to adopt. Coordinating, facilitating park programs, activities, events, including establishing policies, procedures, and permits as needed. Now, I guess my only issue with this is I just not even for us, just for moving forward for the next members that come through, just to make the language clear, it's perfectly stating like, hey, everything needs to come before council before, because on the last page, it also says under 4, it says coordinate with the Greenbelt advisory board and staff regarding all matters involving greenbelt conditions and restrictions. So like coordinating the planning commission and appropriate town staff regarding capital improvements. So, and then, excuse me, above that, on 3, it says recommending to council. So it's just kind of, I guess we kind of figure out what power do we have. If it's everything needs to be recommended, that's no problem, but I just would like the language to be clear in the ordinance, that's all.
Can I add something to that? Yeah, one of the things we were talking about too is there a basket a basket of money this group could take care of, like if we need some trash cans or if we need to spend $100 on something at the park, can we do that, or do we have to come to council for every dollar? So we didn't know if there might be, a few $1,000s that this group would have discretion over if we voted on it to make some improvements as we need to.
What is our procurement policy? Or I know you changed it, so what is our current procurement policy?
Well, it hasn't been changed yet, but
What is because the name said it's legal, what are you talking about to be?
for the procurement, it would be for like anything between like $0 to $5,000. It would also have to be explicitly stated in the budget of like.
I'm saying when you buy trash cans, it's less than $200, they come to you and you can easily
Yes.
write that check without having to come to council.
Yes, but it would also have to be described in the budget too, so it would have to be step 1, make recommendations in the budget. For like what the uses of funds are, step 2 would then be through that procurement policy, anything from like 0 to whatever the current code is, we would follow that procurement, anything over like massive capital improvement projects would have to be. In my mind, you guys would come up with the scope, like the gates and stuff like that, recommend it to the council, and then the council approves it, because that would be a massive. A project, massive related to that.
But don't you have authority to approve things like less than $1,500?
Yes, but I mean, like, anything that's over that threshold would still have to come back to the council for approval.
Correct, so that's the answer to your
And
question.
what's the threshold? 1,500, okay.
But it would still have to be explicitly stated in the budget for that project. If it's not explicitly stated in the budget, it would still have to go to the council.
So can we put $1,500 in the budget for general maintenance?
It would be a recommendation to the council, and the council would say yes.
Council would have to approve it.
Yes, this-
Number one, taking some responsibilities, posing it in the budget.
Right,
That's how you get the revenue on it. See, how you can come up with
Yeah.
a budget. Yeah. The main places. And you should know how to do that.
yeah, I can do that, and what we're saying is we put 1,500 in that for this basket, you know.
It could be anywhere from 1,500 to 15 million, if it can be funded, but you need a budget.
Yeah, but let's be realistic, we want a number that we don't
I
need to come
think
back
what we have
to.
right now in our budget for, in the county's adopted budget for expenditures by this for, what, 50,000?
We had 60 this year, and we've spent 25 on the gig so far.
No,
But I still think the question you're asking is when we have to make an expenditure, and we're using the example of traffic. And you've got a $60,000 budget. And are you asking, can we just go back, can we go out and buy the trash cans and then have an expense reimbursed? Or do we have to ask permission to buy the trash cans and Catherine writes us?
I think Catherine would write the check for it, Catherine would do the buying, I mean, upfront, but we don't have, we can talk about that. My assumption is the town would buy it, but it wouldn't have to wait for the next council meeting to get approved.
And we just specify that by a,
procurement provision for the town is dictated by the state of South Carolina.
Okay,
What you have to do is say, we want to spend X amount of money, then we go to a procurement plan and say, how does that work? And someone just write a check. You have to go put the bids, or you have to go this side of it.
That came out of my original question because Catherine has certain authority to cover up to 1,500.
I'm gonna go to 15.
Yeah, let's just, for now, until she can confirm, let's just say 2,000. Well, then it might be with the authority of the mayor and the town administrator and mayor pro tem. You know, maybe they have, depending on how Catherine's written it, they have the authority to go and approve up to 4,000. But there is a threshold, especially with the larger projects, if it's over 5,000.
So as it stands right now for purchasing, anything less than $150 for our current code is approval by the town clerk. Documentation is departmental purchase order. Anything from $151 to $1,499 is approval by the town clerk, and then document town purchase order with supporting price justification when appropriate. And then anything from $1,500 to $10,000 is the mayor and the bids and purchases committee. And it goes through that with documentation, and then anything over $10,000 would be a formal request for bids. And that is our current code as it stands, and that is chapter 34.0222, and I'll send that to the board.
But what have you proposed it to change to?
Well, the proposal for changes is still going through legal review and being drafted,
And when is that group back?
it'll be coming back within the next couple of months. By March, the latest.
that's okay.
I
we
know,
can
but
use
I
that.
guess my question is, what did you propose so that we could get some idea? I mean, you know what you sent to Matt, so what did you propose as far as like the threshold, so they have some idea when you're making plans for these projects? What you're gonna have the authority to do, does this make, am I?
Yes,
tracking with me?
it does make sense, but I was just reading what the current law states, so I just wanted to make that sure for like anything, if they wanted to do it right now, that would be the correct policies.
so if we cleared a
Oh.
state in the budget that Chris is preparing to submit to council. That there's gonna be a $1,500 line item for discretionary expenses, that would cover it, correct?
Council.
Right, that's what I'm saying, if council approves it. So that's how.
It sounds like me, like we ought to make it a little bigger than that, since.
We'll go with 2,000 and see what happens from there.
Yeah, that's totally.
That amount.
But it's been on the culture of the,
That is-
make it smart.
Oh, are you talking $1,000, the $1,500? Per
Wait
expense.
for council.
That's what we're looking for.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
So we could put theoretically $10,000 in our discretionary. There could only be some for $1,500 here or there. But this goes back to that 100% plan also.
But the proposal for when the stuff goes through, it would be anything under $5,000 would be for the open market, so competitive bidding is not required. The procurement officer shall have the authority to purchase goods and services on the open market using reasonable effort to obtain pricing at or below prevailing market rates. Anything from $5,000 to $24,999 would be formal written quotes for a competitive bidding process would be needed. And then anything over 25 to $49,999 is an informal solicitation for bids or proposals. Anything greater than $50,000 would be the formal solicitations and bids or proposals. I would put a big asterisk on that because that would still need to go through the town council.
That the last one.
All of everything that I just stated. Because that's not currently in the code right now.
So you can buy trash cans for these.
While we're on the money thing, if I could ask one more question. No, quiet, so this year we had about $60,000 to spend on the park. Aside from these one-time grants, and we've got 25 going into the entrance, it's been approved, so we've got about 35 left for this year through June. And what we're trying to get our hands around is how much is the town comfortable spending next year? I think we may ask to roll some of that 35 into next year. But I mean, obviously, we don't have any idea how much the town is going to spend on the park, and that goes into, how are we gonna fix it up?
Sure, we do.
Well, maybe do we need to be conservative on this and stay where we did last year, or do you want?
With the way it went this year is you got 60, you spent 25, so you got 35, you'll ask to roll that. You didn't like went through the whole fleet. The conservatively, you had to bring it back up to 60, right?
And that would be the reasonable thing to start, the reasonable start.
Yeah, that was enough. I would be happy to sit down with something good. That makes you really money for money existing in the budget. I think that's we're pro you. Like we're pro you guys. We have an awesome board and like the budget and that's all I how to flow this thing. But I think we all believe the park is an amazing asset for our town. We don't need to spend some money to prove it. It'd be nice to find some trees at some point.
Yeah. Wendy has some.
Oh, also the for the record, Councilman Randy.
Council flag. I didn't hear that.
When he's here,
Like,
press on.
My recommendation to you, and it's all because we play on council, I'm doing on 2 boards. We don't need to have a strategic plan before you come up with your budget. And that's how we approach it. Have council retreat, we talk about where are we lacking, where are we doing well, what do we want to do? And then you see how much money you have, and then you divide it up. And so it's easy for us to say, yeah, we'll put 60,000 in the budget, but why? What's the justification for every single dollar? I would also include disaster recovery. We were very fortunate this year. There were 2 really big storms that could have really damaged this area. I would make at least one of their line items disaster recovery. And that might take all the budget 1 year. I mean, if the park is shut down after a major storm, that will be the budget, but just know going forward for some of these minor tropical storms, and sometimes we just had some really gnarly thunderstorms that didn't even have names that took down branches and some flooding.
Would you recommend like carrying an emergency fund for that kind of?
That's one of your budget line items.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So y'all didn't have that experience this year, and I hope we don't have that experience, but when it comes to budgets, my thought process is prepare for the worst and hope for the best.
I just gotta go overall through the stuff.
Well, can we go back to what William had started us with is, the end of the budget is proposing, but. And I guess they covered it in procurement, when she was talking about the procurement. Oh, sorry. The procurement piece was covered, number 3. And then he asked about number 4, coordinating the Green Belt Advisory Board. I actually have been in contact with Eric Davis
from Greenbelt, he's actually taken a promotion, so he's over the person that's covering. And I got an email from him today. I asked him if he would be willing to come to a meeting and speak with us. And he said, he sent me an email today saying that yes, March, they're planning on coming to do a presentation to our park board meeting.
Well, that's great, that's
Yes.
one thing that I would recommend will be, let's say,
Yes.
get a swap. Got the, you got the main bill and you come for certain restrictions.
Yes, it does.
These restrictions are rather nebulous.
Yes, they are.
And they seem so far to have been reluctant to put anything in writing and clarify. So what I would suggest is when they come here, be on the record, and put them on the spot. Say, what can we do and what can't we do? And in particular, the biggest thing out there is can this be used as an event venue?
Yes, it
And if it can, are there any restrictions to what extent can we do this?
So after our last council meeting, when Mr. Dazers presented, I reached out to Eric to ask him if there were any restrictions as far as I was concerned, and he said, no, we just need to follow what Charleston County Parks and Rec do for their events as far as like, if they would need to obtain an alcohol license, they would need to obtain insurance and.
Charleston County Park and Recreation has significant events.
Yes, well, this event was going to be a
If I
significant
could,
event.
isn't in the 2009, park was purchased, right?
Yes.
Greenbelt funds.
Yeah,
In that purchase, in the deed, lists what a passive park. Right?
well,
I,
agree.
didn't we just go over that?
Yes, it
Today.
also describes what our ordinance, it says what passive recreation is.
Yes,
And then at the bottom where it talks about for the event venue, it states that. Limited special uses such as programs, activities, or festivals designed to generate revenue for the park. Into a predominantly, revenue for the park. Improvement and maintenance are permitted, provided that these do not transform the park. Event, provide that it's not into a predominantly event venue. Being a space where a primary function becomes hosting events, gatherings, or activities that draw large crowds, require extensive infrastructure, or distribute the park's passive recreational character. Such special uses shall not exceed 4 times in any calendar year unless approved by the council. That's why it's-
Well, and please, give that purpose point in too, it's supposed to generate money from talk, correct?
Limited events, yes, it's supposed to generate revenue for the park improvement.
And so many events that don't do that, you wouldn't allow, under the current regulations.
Unless approved by council.
Unless it be.
I have a question, if, like the biking event that happens, they have a band?
No,
No,
You know, I wonder if you get 4 shots out of it, then you win. That's what.
unless we want to change the.
And somebody else takes one of them, I think the bicycle people. But, you know,
Yes, well, actually, the bicycle thing, I don't think we'd be allowing them anymore. Does it generate revenue for the town?
Not that I'm aware.
Okay, so we wouldn't allow them.
but we should.
that be an event then, or are we not gonna do
Yes,
that?
like they do pay $75.
Right, so would that be?
But they're charging their. Then maybe they pay us 5% of the goes in.
Right.
But that would be a discussion to have like specifically defining events. Cause that's one thing, if it's for events specific, such as programs, activities, or festivals. Designed to generate revenue for the park, there'd be a discussion to have with both everybody to say like what it looks like.
And maybe even we as council could approve something, with y'all's recommendation, something like that, that didn't generate revenue from the town. Because it's about talk, if it's within the concept of a passive recreational environment. I mean, that's what it's for. But we want to be careful that unless we want to change this ordinance, that we don't allow other events of scale to usurp the ability of the town to utilize it to generate money for the park. That's where your budget, that's where I think the council intends your budget to come from. Rather than out of the general fund to the extent we can.
Yeah.
Make it as self-supporting as possible. Which I believe is the
I think it might be helpful also if you call Charleston County, because they, like you said, they do have various events at different places. And see what their model is. And it might be a hybrid. It might be like someone like the bike. With the approval of council, you waive. Their, you know, or let's say, it's a nonprofit organization. You know, maybe we waive the 5% or whatever you decide the percentages. But I think it's good to go see what your counterparts are doing.
Number 9 is recommending the council to raise some fees for all park programs, events and activities.
We're counting on you guys to be the subject matter experts, so we can go out and do that. But we prefer for it to be.
Yeah. We're gonna do it. Gonna need somebody else to do it. The all of us should be doing this.
Yeah. Keep in mind that a budget has two sides to it. Projected income first, and then projected expenses. And unless we want to pay taxes, they zero out. But we need to, we need to see a plan. If you have a plan that brings in $1 million, well, then we have more money to spend. I think ideally we're looking, I feel we're looking for you all and the park to be autonomous. So I have a question, I'm trying to figure out how to ask this. You all feel that you're hindered, your progress is hindered by having to run through the council?
I'll take that. I mean, that's a bomb to jump on, but first off, I just wanted to thank you all for coming. I know we talked a lot about having you all here and just having this discussion because there are some questions like William brought up with, no ordinance is going to cover every situation. We realize it's vague in some areas on purpose. However, if you look through it, it says propose, like I'm just picking out the first words, propose, this is under park board duties, propose, coordinate, recommend, propose, coordinate, provide input, recommend, and collaborate, right? Those are my duties. That is the frustration I think we have a little bit is who does. Right, like we provide input, but who's doing the actual work at the farm? Now, I realize that's in the case of the entrance, we're gonna have a contractor to do, right? But I don't feel have the authority to coordinate with those contractors. I don't have a town email address. I have no budgeting authorities. And that's what I'd like to hear from y'all. Are we empowered? So I kind of feel like I have responsibilities, but maybe not the authorities to carry through with this. So if it's above $10,000, am I allowed to contact three agencies, contractors to do that, or does that go
Not
through?
you yourself, I thought y'all established committees to handle those things. So
Okay, well, I'm on the opposite.
whoever that committee is,
Yeah.
would absolutely have the authority to coordinate that with the town administrator.
Okay, that we have not heard that, nor is that.
We didn't even know you were gonna establish committees, and they're not required here, but I mean,
Right.
to me, that's an obvious thing. We're establishing this committee to do something.
Okay,
If it's
but
going to request funds for construction of a certain thing, then the people on that committee will actually, the way it ought to work is that committee then reports to the full board. And y'all agree to it and then coordinate that with the town administrator.
so who do I assign? Do I assign Chris on that when I'm contacted? Like, I'm basically representing the town.
You need once.
Yes, I'm contacting the contractor. Although,
Don't decide that amongst yourself. I think what you probably want to do was.
No. I've asked Catherine to set you guys on the email. That was the whole purpose of us having a town email system. Now, planning and BZA are different. They report to the planning. So requests that come in to planning go to the planning manager's email. He vets those applications, presents them to planning and BZA. They make recommendations, and then those recommendations come to council. So that was a little bit convoluted, but that's why they don't have independent emails. And I have asked for you guys to have an independent email, because y'all are a little different. Y'all don't have, other than like the time, y'all don't really have an employee or manager y'all report to on staff like planning and BZA
correct.
do. So ideally, I would love to see on the website, and you guys can nominate whoever your secretary is or your communications chair, you can come up with that title, that they man the email. And so the request, if you go on a website and you want to get a quote for the fences, you would put in whatever we decide to name it, artboard@townofallendog.com.org. And that, when they come back and say, hey, yeah, of course we would, I mean, we've all done this, when you go on the website and request a quote or whatever procurement. That request comes back to that email, and maybe you're like, oh my God, that sounds like I want to cut my eyes out with a spoon to manage another email, but maybe take turns. I don't know what that looks like, but you guys decide who's gonna manage that email. Maybe it's the chair.
It's one email to clarify.
It should be one email. And the other reason is because ideally, when they send in these quotes, budgets, you're gonna have a OneDrive, you know, where you have files that you can upload and save. Because, I mean, wonderful if y'all reapply and want to stay on the park board forever, but the reality is there's gonna be some institutional knowledge that's lost. Because Ashley and I've talked about this, where she created an email just so it's not mucking up her personal or work email. But ideally, and because we have this town email, Catherine will be able to access those files forever. Yeah. Is everybody tracking with me about how this should, how ideally it should work? So that way, when you have a project, it's the gates, it's the fences, create a folder. Upload all the quotes, you're gonna present those to council, so it's, you know, we're gonna have other copies. But just when you guys are initially working through it, these were all the things we talked about. These are the two that we never even presented because they didn't have a good reputation, they have a insurance, you know, whatever those qualifications are. But these are the three we presented to council, so in my head, that's how that works with like procurement. Did that answer the question or did it more complicated?
Go ahead. That email address would have access to the OneDrive or a drive on the town server.
They will have like a file,
Okay,
like where you can upload files, you could, but you could.
Invoices.
Create
We can ensure that it has that capability.
storage, yeah, and you just decide, you put a budget folder, you put quote folder, you put a project folder, or maintenance folder.
yeah, for instance, the last festival, I have invoices and copies of things that are just kind of floating around out there that aren't on.
And
town
hopefully,
server.
when that gets. And you know, created, you can go and move all of that stuff, so we can have, and even like, if there's any other. Random files hanging around town hall, ideally, those would be scanned in and uploaded to that folder, because that all pertains to the park, even if it was before there was a park board. This is, anything that has to do with the greenway, just because. We're not gonna be here forever, you're not gonna be here forever, but at least there'll be. We're gonna do our very best to ensure institutional knowledge. I mean, we don't have any excuse with today's technology. I agree, it's true.
Now they're in, one of the crucial components is having a massive The town has paid for three.
Yeah.
That we have sitting in the planner's office. Which one is the real one?
That's
So
a question.
we all need to do,
Yeah.
I think, and from what I've been told. Not all three are compatible with what Greenbelt approved. So that's another reason we get the Greenbelt guy here and say, what on these three plans is off limits? So put a big X on that.
Right.
And then decide what's on those plans, what you want to see the park look like eventually. Not just, you got a grant for $7,000, what are we gonna do with that? You got a plan. And it's vision. And it's adopted by council, it can be changed, but it goes through the same process. But it's like, this is what we want to see built. This is the budget we need to do it. Where are we gonna get the money from? And once we get squared away with our audit stuff, I believe there'll be an opportunity to get significantly more grant money available to accomplish things, correct?
Correct.
So, I mean, but you gotta have a plan.
I love it. I love it when Kent sets me up. I work a lot, bunch of the guys I have worked with are always talking about getting in the weeds, getting in the weeds. I hate being in the weeds. He has the vision. 5 years from now, imagine a park with a big pavilion, restroom, and a concession. Okay, that's 5 years down the road. Now. Work backwards, can we get there? Is that a realistic vision? Yeah, when we're there, 5 years from now. We have the facility. We have X number of events a year. That we have an experience level that they're taking in this amount of money. Ideally, it's autonomous, so the town is not funding it. Obviously, there's funds, coming from other directions, from grants and what have you, but. Yes, the vision. What's it gonna look like?
You got a plan to go from, and it's all of a sudden, hey, the town has an opportunity to apply for a grant for. Something beyond the park, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000. How high do they go? I don't much amount of grants, but you're talking some money, we can do something. If you would be sitting there and say, well, we can apply for it, but what are we gonna do? It's like, here it is, here's our master conceptual plan. Here's where our priorities are, of what we want to see done in this sequence, and let's do it that way.
So rest assured, we have been working on it. We've
Okay.
used the three conceptual plans. Kind of, we realized there's aspects, for instance, in the epic. That might not pass muster that it's, approved by the Greenbelt. But we view our opening phases are focused on the natural, right? You take what is there already existing that doesn't require a lot of money. That's the lake, its trails, and the open space. Our phases, we do have phases that are going toward a longer term vision. All of those plans have parking or an entrance at each of the three gates.
So is a tax, that's a tax document.
Yeah, I can
It
share.
was presented at
Yeah.
October council
We
meeting.
recommend that it also be translated into a graphic representation.
Hotel share this information in October.
I think it was October's council meeting, if I'm not
I
mistaken.
have a question, I will say, there's something important to me when you go off with coordinating, recommending, and disposing,
Yeah.
coordinating, and providing, recommending, collaborating. And that's so, collaborating, here we are, but it does lead beyond like, but what can we do? And what do we have the power to do it, and how do we do it? And I think the email organization thing is a great idea. You keep everything in one place, as municipal, like municipal intellectual property. I haven't seen that, we can look at it. The trees, has anyone is planting trees in this?
No, that's a great point.
Yeah.
But the lake is, like everybody likes to fish, right? But that's a big community deal, like, it's stocking the ponds here.
Phase 3, and
Yeah.
Ken brought up, coordinating with some local agencies, like, you know, if you want to bring that up, to do an assessment of the lake for its viability for stocking. There are fish in there,
That's what I was gonna
but,
say, I'm down here to see if the fish are.
yeah, I think we could have some collaboration with, he mentioned the Citadel.
Well, there are all kinds of projects that the Southern, Charleston and Charleston Southern do. I've got some things here that, you know, we publish it on a regular basis. There are like 4 major projects that the Southern Biology Department and Environmental Engineering are doing around the low country.
Right.
And to get on one of these things, for example, how do you restore that piece of property? The piece of property is beautiful, but it's a scar.
Yeah.
And it should be, not only should it become park, but it should be becoming more natural than what it is now.
Yeah.
We were talking about just looking at the growth along the lake. That's really important. That's what stabilizes that. And it, you know, it's like, what do you cut down? Well, you don't cut that down. So overall, we don't know all that. And I think if we can, I talked to folks at the Stoker today. There's a guy who I talked to. And I'll do the same thing at College of Charleston.
Like for a landscape architect to come out and draw what the park can look like, if it was properly planted and terraced and drained.
Yeah. I would like, you know, you can almost have an opportunity to create a model for what you do with these other, you know, sand pits. How do you cure that?
And I love that idea, that attitude, where it's, we have such an opportunity. Take a blank slate, blank canvas, and make it into a beautiful. And make it into a beautiful. And one more, I just want to heard. Is one of you not here for this?
We have a vacancy.
There's a, to the election. Because that's being advertised.
Well, that was deferred until after this meeting. See what we do.
I'm actually glad you brought that up, because I thought about this from time to time, and I don't know what the grants or the provisions allow for. But, you know, we went to the Seaweed Center with my daughter one day. What a special little place that is.
Yeah.
And how cool would it be if we could offer that to, say, James Elementary Creeks, which is very environmentally minded, just like, wouldn't that be cool if like kids have like a little field trip, maybe they start at Seaweed Center and then they come to our park and hike and go on a picnic or whatever, and they do go. And again, I don't know what this looks like, I'm not a teacher, I don't work in the school district, thank you Lord. But maybe that's part of your strategic plan, maybe kind of flesh that out, and that's what we're kind of talking about now. You know, the 1 year is maybe facilities improvement, the 3 year is, you know, getting regular events, and what's that 5 year? I mean, wouldn't it be cool if 10 years from now, when none of us are sitting on these boards, that we see a bus go by and they're pulling in the park, and like, I was there that night for that conversation, or I helped vote for that, or I helped move that across the finish line, like. Again, I don't think a lot of people know it exists, you know, especially kind of along those levels, but what's the camp that always sells out the Huck Finn camp on? So I know there's a desire there for that for people with their kids, you know, so again, I don't know what that looks like, and I hope you guys might figure out this magic scenario for that. Maybe it's advertising the park is open for hiking in the summer, or we've created a dock that's safe for you to bring your kids to come fishing at, or put a paddleboard. If you want to teach your kid to paddleboard, safe. Yeah, again, I don't know what that looks like. I mean, paddleboarding on Intracoastal is much different than paddleboarding on a very quiet pond. So again, I don't know what that looks like. He's probably the expert on more like teaching kids.
This is good work.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah, I think a lot with the unknowns as far as, like I said, what authorities we do have, and as far as public, we were just trying to just really focus more on phase 1, getting the gates, getting the signage, getting the park open was the whole idea. That's kind of where we are. So this meeting is helping for sure, kind of clearing some things up, but that was the whole idea. So I feel like we can't get to phase 2 and phase 3 until we get the basic things, the necessities of the park as far as the hours. People don't know the hours. unless you go online and it just says dusted on. So it's just as far as just getting the park running and open itself is kind of was our main focus. We've been beating our head on the wall since since we all first joined to get it to that way. So I know we've got some folks and it's just yeah.
I would like you all, and if I can speak for the whole council, but I would like you all to feel that you can assume the authority. That you don't have to wait for somebody to figure out if you've been assigned.
I'm gonna tell you why I wouldn't do that. Because Councilman Prowse at one of our meetings said we did it wrong one time. I don't know the quote, I can't quote him, but I know there's been. We were trying to do things by the book. So we don't want to go and step on people's toes or authority without giving the proper, so I don't want to assume or anything.
Let's look at our town record. We have a water system that somebody back then casted a vision. It was funded, we had a plan that took us through how many phases, had booster pumps. And then unforeseen things came up, like COVID and costs skyrocketed. And so where we are now is not what was planned. But at least we didn't go into it willy-nilly. Likewise, the park. I mean, the plan was that's gonna be beautiful. Some of the certain person was gonna leave it as just this beautiful passive park or kind of landscaping, that didn't happen. Yeah, sometimes it doesn't.
I think, one of the things that would be, that would be, and that's, I think, both of them, who's that, who's these, written objectives, you put them graphically, just some type of picnic area or something that would provide, something for people to do rather than just park the car and walk in. And you could totally even walk the dog on the issue. I'm off the issues, people be mad, you put a phrase meeting, hang on a blanket or fly a kite or whatever. But, has anybody ever been to the Isle of Palms Yankee Park? That's what we keep. If not, it's fine, if we have the stations where there's a picnic table and shade structure, and park people. You know, that could be $1,000 to get in.
For an hour.
I don't know that the board did suggest doing that with some of the park grants, with some of the picnic tables and stuff along the berm.
Right now,
Already previously approved park grants, the board has already been discussing purchases of benches and also some tables along the berm and in that area.
right,
But they have started thinking of like,
and I would put it on that graphically, because when the last two months, that may not appear to be handicap accessible. And I would suggest that we do whatever we can with the improvements that we put at the park. In fact, the law requires, to the extent that you possibly can, you have to make those things. It's only if it's on a secondary route that it's not germane to the internal workings of it. It's not mandatory. It's sort of a stop. But, so I would suggest, and that's why you need a plan, you need a visual plan, you need to say, it's going here, it's going there, and here's the accessible route you get to it. That you do that, and that's why you need a graphic, visual plan to accomplish it. And I would not suggest spending that money on improvements on top of the map. We probably get ourselves in trouble eventually, big that concentrating the day. But those small park grants are perfect for this kind of stuff. That's what the town used to put the benches on the Walk Trail. And that would be another thing, the benches on the old parkway on the Walk Trail, the park from the park. That park entrance all the way around to the Gore Road across from the Sealy Shell Lane entrance has no benches.
that would be a great use of park money for the town. Because I like it on that side, I don't have anywhere to sit and I'm walking with help. But not just me.
Forgot what it is. Oh, no, just kidding. So is there a copy of the Greenbelt plans document?
Yes.
Like, Derek North, like, they just asked the government. So we y'all have all read that. I think we makes a really good point. Like, there's a lot of vision, we can draw it, we can all it, but everybody wants to have a great vision and all that sort of thing, but. The first step right here, right now, is how do we get it open?
Yeah.
Right, and if, how do we get it open, and then when it is open, when the hours are plainly marked, then what are the rules? So we need to mitigate it opens, and then some rules of tell people what to do once they get in there. I have dealt with handicap accessible things before, and you can have picnic table on top of the mountain. That a handicap person will never be able to reach, as long as you have one they can reach, as long as the equal accessible stuff is available. Then you can do that, that's not difficult. But what is difficult, and as I understand the history of what's been going on in the park, is security. Right, and I know Lieutenant Turner's loves us, he's on our side, to help us with things like that, I don't know if it's a security plan. I think that'll be part of letting the gates open. Just to have some, that it's, certainly doesn't ban cameras, but there's an awful lot of security around this building. And say Lieutenant Turner, probably going to talk about having a secure park. Timing, is there a timer on the new gate proposed? Does it open and close itself, or does it require a person to do?
No, so we went back and forth, mechanically opening the gate. What we elected was the parking lot is fenced. No gate. Because the gate, one, we don't have anyone to go and check it, open it. If it breaks, who goes and fixes it? Right, and it kind of gets back to my who does point. We advise, we're a board, I don't mind going over there, and I thank you for the security team. I got them from Catherine today and put them up. There's 4 at each gate, or 4 total, 1 at each gate, 1 at the back. And 1, 2, and 3 at those entrances. So I think that's a win. However, I don't mind going and checking them, but. It's kind of a question, you don't have to answer it tonight, but just something to think about, who's maintaining that? The cameras have solar panels, right? It's just an example, or. If we do end up with trash, who's gonna collect it? It goes back to the who does, we coordinate, we do all that, and again, I don't mind volunteering some time.
No.
But. I got it, so that I would recommend long term, you need a park. Or a park, whatever part of the town, an employee, that definitely, it's a 200+ acre facility. And right now, you got Charleston County with 2 deputies from the bridge to Georgetown. That's your security plan. So those are some long-term security concerns we have. With all of that, we just said, let's post the hours, the gate is internal, you can come in and park. You can't access the park beyond the internal fencing of that parking lot. That was I don't know, a risk that we assumed.
How does that work? You can come in and park, and then you have to, as it was can't far past.
Correct. Yeah, it's a fenced in park.
Yeah, like.
It's kind of like the corral for the cars and trucks, so they don't go any further.
Yes. I was making.
Yeah, sorry, that was long-winded, but.
Okay, so, but this goes back, and I'm gonna take the word strategic out, because that sounds very like. Cerebral. Just a plan. Now, let's look at where we were a year ago. We have a park that had no gates, no cameras, no security. So this has been an issue. Well, guess what we're gonna have before the end of this fiscal year? Gates, cameras, security. And so part of your plan, every year, because ideally. What would happen, like, obviously, we have council retreat, and then the next month we have budget retreat. It would be wonderful if y'all had a presentation every year we have council retreat, because we have to make decisions. Based on how to support you every year. When do you do your council retreat? This year we have to do it in February. Where we have more time, and then we hope in March to do the budget retreat, so that staff has time. To write the budget and present it for public comment, we have time to vote on it. But every year, this should be, you should talk about this, so. You can even talk about like a little bit of a history lesson, so that people know why you've made certain decisions, like. You know, we made decisions to secure the park because we had problems with people cut it up. And so we put up gates and security cameras, signs, so that it could be open to the people who want to enjoy it. Now, going forward, next year, you'll tell us, now that you put up the gates, well, problems calling Lieutenant Turner, we only had one instance. Wouldn't that be wonderful? I mean, so that's what that report's gonna look like, we made these improvements, this was the result. And because of this, we don't necessarily go this revolving, the cameras are working. But also within that plan, we have delegated until the town can afford to hire someone, and maybe that was one of your recommendations. Andrea checks on the cameras every single week. You know,
Cameras aren't recording to a computer somewhere, who's it recording to them?
Yeah.
They just got set up, but it's logged in through T-Mobile.
or you know, whatever that looks like now, but now the cameras are set up, so you need to write up a policy and a procedure with the cameras. But I know this is like getting into the weeds, but this is how the sausage is made. So you've added a layer, well, Chris, who's in charge of the cameras? Well, I don't know, you just installed them today, what do y'all think? And then you give that then you write this recommendation, and you present it to council, and we go, that's a good idea. We like the policy and procedure you came up with that, we approve that, and then you go with it. So this thing of like, we don't know who to report to or how to do it, bring us your recommendations. And it might be that you don't have a report every single month. Things are running along, you know, Bill would love to see an update on the case, you know, especially if there's like, oh my gosh, we had a nice storm. We got delayed, blah, blah, blah. Or we thought we were gonna be able to do this for the park and a tropical storm came through. It took the money we had aside for that. So we're gonna have to push that to the next fiscal year. But again, you come to us and I feel like we're all pretty reasonable and we're all very supportive of this park being a success. And so we're trusting you to become subject matter experts with your best recommendations and telling us how it's working.
Number 6 is proposing and overseeing maintenance management facilities. We obviously already have something in place for somebody to mow the bush hog grounds, right, on a periodic basis.
Yes.
Okay, so that's part of it. I think a personnel for it might be further down the road, who knows if it's even necessary. One of the grandest passive parks in the world is White Point Gardens in downtown Charleston, and it's an urban park. But there's nobody that manages that. But in the city's public works department picks up trash bins or whatever and blows the grass and keeps it clean. Yes, that's something that would absolutely be, because people aren't going to pack in and pack out, they'll be packed in. But that's part of the budget.
Like you use the trash cans are a great example. Y'all want money to buy trash cans, great. One of my questions would be like, who's picking up trash cans? Are we gonna do a contract with Dog Sanitation for them to come pick up the trash cans, or are y'all gonna come change out the bags? Who have you designated as that? Or what are you gonna do about dog waste? Are y'all gonna put up receptacles for people to put their dog waste in? I would say no, they need to take it with them. But again, y'all come up with the recommendations and tell us, if you approve this is how we plan to manage it.
The $60,000 budget sounds more like a quarter to $150 million just based off the conversation we're having. That's just I think, I love all these ideas, obviously going forward from just phase one to phase two to next year's. But just kind of like Chris's, we can give these recommendations, but realistically, I think the only thing that we could do as far, obviously, we can reach for the sky with our annual budget and our annual comprehensive plan at this point. But it's gonna take a lot of funds. Just realistically, everything that we have all discussed is gonna take funds, whether it be grants and events, but it's just realistically speaking, all these things that you guys have listed are gonna take more funds than we assume that we have, so.
Okay, so but we focus on the plan, so now let's focus on the budget. So this is what we're gonna do in Council Street. Paul has ideas, John has ideas, Dan has ideas, Chris is the new idea man, he's got great ideas. But guess what, when we all put those at the table, we put in 15 ideas. We're gonna have to pick based on this pool of money. These 3 are the most important. Or these 5 are the most important. So I do understand that sometimes it can be overwhelming. But with any budget, you have budget how you want to grow your business, but then you're like, okay, this is what I want to do, what can I do this year?
I agree that with you, I agree. It is overwhelmingly expensive, it is an overwhelmingly expensive proposition, to think about the responsibility. I do think that part of the vision is the town become more self-sustained. Of time, because we doesn't money, because we get but in the short term, we're gonna need the people's money to build the people's problem. And I think we're behind you. I'm happy to advocate in the budget, the council, the park have plenty of budget. The only us that people needs of their money.
So actually, I met with you and who was the gentleman, the event guy? I met with you in your office.
Steve Carroll.
Right. And that was an extremely beneficial meeting for me because my whole mindset was more of a business going concern. You're bringing in so much and you're spending so much. The events, his mindset was to try to get sponsorships and get people to pay it up front. So you're always in the black. And ideally, if the event's a success, even before the event starts, you've paid your expenses with pre-sales and what have you. So he's got that vision. So my question to you is, in that event, I'm not sure if we would call that a success. It was sweltering hot that day. But can we, after we get X number of events under our belt, have a formula that works? And can we identify a number then that we can anticipate in any given year? We do 4 events. In any given year, that those 4 events are going to kick in on the income side of the budget X amount of money, and with that, that's where the numbers that you're envisioning can come from, and grants and the money that can trickle down from federal and state monies. But our events say, can they be a money maker?
I'd like to think so.
Yeah, but wouldn't you guys like Steve Carroll if they weren't?
Yeah,
I mean,
does it seem to you guys overwhelming a little bit? It's like, I know, let's have a dinner party. It's like, but the kitchen renovation isn't finished. They're like, oh, I know, let's have a bunch of people over and make a lot of money, but hey, we're not there yet.
We're not.
I wouldn't say overwhelming, I would say overwhelming, but it's just like Chris was saying, it's like, who is doing this stuff?
It drove us off our strategic plan. We are just catching up from that event. Every single board meeting was offense.
Yep.
This is just me personally, I'm not speaking for the board here. that drove us months off schedule. I know why we did it. It was to make money for the park.
Yeah.
Bottom line, that was the number one goal. We weren't ready. We used seed money from the town, which I don't think we should do again. To me, that's a facility we rent. They pay. We don't pay.
Right, and
And
that's
that's, I don't like that was intertwined. I felt personally responsible for taxpayer dollars. That. Weren't.
Then this
It's
inspection, you
it's
make
still,
a
it's still
recommendation.
being determined whether it was a success or not. So I don't wanna get into that, but.
But this goes
I-
back to your authority of like, you
Yes.
discuss it here. You guys decide as a council, we've decided we just want to rent the facility, we don't want to be promoters.
Yes.
And you bring that recommendation to council and we'll go, yay or nay,
Least in the short term.
yeah.
But
At least in the short term.
Right.
what we messed up is we don't have a good contract yet, and Williams starting to put some meat on the bones of that one. In that, that's what I would like to hand someone that wants to have an event, here you go. It needs, these line items have to be accomplished. And at the end, the park checkout, it needs to be cleaned, and you know, if there's ruts in the road, whatever we wanna put in there, that it's returned to. The passive park state. And we, that's my vision, I don't know if y'all have a different one.
But this goes back to call the other county parks or call the other, maybe the city of Panhandle has their own. You may not have to recreate the wheel. I think it's a pretty good contract.
Yeah.
And they have a pretty good security, because it sounds like what you're talking about is a rental fee and a security deposit.
Well, Catherine showed me today, we sat down and
Yeah.
discussed some of that, and she showed me a couple of great examples.
Yes,
Good.
one was Williams that is
Yeah.
drafted, which is going to be for line item 6 to schedule additional meetings for the park board to then discuss. For that, and then there's also the Charleston County Park as well for like that online. So if you wanted to have it be both, like if you wanted to combine both of them, but they also had rules and regulations.
So we would, one, take the aspect originally was that the towns would be involved in ownership of these bills, because it had been in the past. But I'm hearing now that I be that we don't, that we just want to win a fee.
I
don't know
think
who
it, yes, a rental fee, but we choose events that are gonna promote the local culture and.
We don't have it, yeah.
But again, y'all decide that, take a majority vote, and that's your recommendation to council. I will say this. Best practices, and granted, these are open meetings, they're recorded, everybody can see you argue or dissent or whatever, and that's fine. But once you decide. Do your best to support whatever the decision is. This, what did you say as a team sport?
That's what the municipal association stuff, the federation, it's like, this is municipalities, I think for the twice now, before y'all started talking, y'all thanked us for meeting. And I don't know why it took so long for it to come to me, but thank y'all for this. It was a volunteer board, you're not getting paid to do this. And it is gonna take the time you have to do other things with your families and with your jobs and just, enjoying all of it. Thank y'all for putting the time in and doing this. It seems like a pretty heavy lift. I do think, I know this, in a couple of years, in 2 years, this park should be a model. I don't know how long it's gonna take to get it open, but it isn't open now, is it? What does it take? You just like.
Well, the signs, which are, yeah, the quotes, I should have the other 2 quotes for signs back tomorrow, end of the week. I'm hoping to present that at a special meeting that we call. The board approves it, and then we've got signs in the works, right? So if the gate's there, entrance 1 will start within the next week or so, right? Signs, say 4 weeks, maybe,
By
don't quote me
spring,
on
you
that.
have another-
I mean, I would like to see by the beginning of March, we've got some signs up and the gates open. And it's, for all intents and purposes, open.
That's outstanding. That's a lot of problems.
one thing that bears mentioning too, is the town will have more revenue than it had last year. Simply because we didn't roll back the millage rate in the reassessment. So to make the taxes revenue neutral, we would have to roll back the millage, but we didn't, we kept it the same because the valuations have gone up. With the reassessment, the town will get more money. Than it had last year. Now, what we're gonna do with that money is what we can decide through our budget process. There will be no money coming, this year than how much we might spend it on other things, who knows?
So I want to ask the question about the vacancy. Okay. This is just me personally. I have always felt that our boards and commissions should closely more mirror in numbers than council. From our experience, getting people to apply is in trouble. We've tried to limit it to people who live in Ollendale, and I still stand behind that. I don't want someone who only vacations here sitting on this board. You may disagree.
Let's not get municipal park next.
But they could be a consultant, but I'm just saying, like, someone who has, a vote in how this part is run, managed, paid, supported. I feel like it should be a community member, but that's just my opinion. Do you feel 9 is too much? I advocated for 7. I'm not sure how we ended up at 9 originally. That's how we wrote the ordinance. And so, what are your thoughts? Do you have enough? Is this floor big enough? Too big?
Well, I will
Do you want
say,
people?
I had a resident of Almdale reach, I actually went to elementary school with her, she reached out to me in the interest of filling that vacancy. I'm not sure, I happened to be out of town for my job, whatever, I think it was maybe in October, November meeting, not sure which one. But I don't think it was something voted on. I'm not sure what happened. I heard there were a few applicants that actually did apply, but didn't actually get to get their opportunity to join the board or even. I believe, so this happened.
I think there was only one, somebody who lived in Eugene that was not appointed in the fall.
Was that for this or that was for using it?
For the September meeting, it was. For when the applications were going through, they only appointed 1 vacancy and then now the other ones, they didn't vote on any of the other applications.
Correct, and I think there was one person from Eugene, if I remember correctly, the Senate was, didn't want somebody else. You did not live in the town, although the ordinance clearly states that you don't have to live in it. Which I too agree, you should, and I agree with you. It's what happens, it should be limited to 7 people, will be hopefully voted on over campus.
But those applications were provided to the council and they just.
Is that how you speak?
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
this-
she might, I don't know if she lives in UG or on God at this point, but she reached out to me on Facebook now, it's about it, and I was like, okay,
But what are your thoughts on the sweet spot?
I mean, I think, I've enjoyed everybody and their opinions on this, so I'm okay with 8 or 9, I think the more minds, the more eyes, the better.
Somebody asked a question the other day, is how do you have more members on the park board than you have members of the town council? I think they have balance of
There is a dynamic. There is a dynamic because, if you have too many people on a board, you just don't get anything done because you're constantly talking and getting on multiple views on an issue. There's a dynamic, and your concern, I understand your point is, well, who's gonna do this? I mean, that was my struggle in the beginning on council. Mike looks like a pretty energetic young guy, but I have a team of cardiologists that would argue with that. And so we lost our town administrator, and I thought, gotta roll up my sleeves, I gotta. No, we can't. We just can't.
But
But I don't know what the solution is.
I would also offer, there are people who genuinely care about this park and they want to be volunteers. I just don't want to sit at a table and do agendas and, you know what I'm saying?
The Friends of the Park. sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Friends of, like,
Yeah.
friends of all. Like,
Right.
we had like, well-developed volunteer board. And it's about that, no, I'd love to do that. Now, it's funny that it's funny, maybe take the trash to the park, if you use the trailer, the truck, or whatever, you know, qualified. Insured waiver, and all that, all of the necessary steps, but. Like people from, it's the people's park, and people from all and all. I do not disagree that there probably needs to be some sort of fiscal plan before we need somebody to have a swing hammer and put salt and we're gonna work that $8,000 lawnmower that's sitting in the open out there. There's a lot of I looked at it the other day, there was there's a town similar to our size.
Similar to what? I'm sorry.
And they've got 25 employees. Now, I'm not anxious to like add to the payroll, but I am anxious on the town having what it needs, and right now, I don't think we do. I mean, obviously, we don't, the water wants to do that, one person. I think there are a couple of holes in, obviously, in my short time here, but we do need somebody that is the viewer of things. And right now, we're asking two people to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think any of us are afraid to, I mean, we joined this board to volunteer and to see this park to fruition, but the long-term view is it's a big facility and we're only adding more. Our plan is to add more to it. And as a volunteer basis, we're not gonna get there. I think this is long-term without even just a part-time or someone that is assigned some duties at that facility.
And it's not just the park, there's lots of grass that needs to be cut, things that need to be done as a facility, as the DOT is it coming?
Quick question, I know in the last, town meeting, there was discussion about maybe sending some of those funds to this park right here. Are we in charge of this park as well as Thompson Hill Park as well? Do we have input on those parks?
That is a good question.
Thompson Hill Park is Charleston County, recreation.
Okay, I just wasn't sure, 'cause-
That's a good question, I think, don't worry about this playground, like, right,
Yeah.
yeah, I would say, my opinion, I got one of them. That's really, but my opinion is you guys have enough to do, you don't have to worry about this one, I don't wanna battle you guys for cars, for drains. Those are small changes, but I'm gonna get your job done anyway. Right now, I'm not gonna fight for the car grant, I'll get one. Just put it right there. We're gonna do backboards and nets and get new playground equipment and then get it. We're gonna get this place over here somewhere that involves the community to a center of government. And we're gonna change the culture and the vibe and part of it. As we clean trash is every other business.
But you might have a benchmark and about going back to your plan. In 5 years, the park is a well-oiled machine and the board, this board can make a recommendation to council. We feel like we can take that. Right, but right now. We probably said we can't, that's that. And we would agree. But again, y'all might get to a point where you're like, we got this.
Talking about other facilities, I just want to throw something out really quick that Ashley and I discussed is the Greenway Trail. I feel it is an opportunity, although that's not in our purview. There was a lot of money put in the boardwalk, right? That is right behind the new development and Harris. That builder didn't make any connection to that trail. So that trail runs from, the Door Road trail and I think. If you look at the original plans, it was gonna come through town hall. It is very close. Now with this other new development right here. It empties out into basically the dirt pit that they're working on there. So that development. As a count, could we work with that developer? The reason I say it is if you could connect that trail to the town hall parking lot, you now have a trail all the way to the town park, which I think is pretty cool. You can bike it, hike it, maybe not in the summer, but, it's almost there. It's like right here in these new developments. I think as much as we've talked about these developers, it would be a good story or a good way to work with them and say, hey, in your development, could you make a connection to this trail? And oh, by the way, allow this trail clear, maybe skirt your periphery to connect down here to town hall. Just as a
getting easements on, and I don't know, they change the names to these things, we don't change the size, whatever that thing's called.
White door.
Yeah.
Where is a dedicated easement on that property that takes them from a bit of northern boundary and look out to the city, but there's also a dedicated easement, phase, I think it's phase 2, that goes from White Wood Drive. It goes from, Door Road to the back of their property. But the rest of it is, there's no connection to the. So the only thing that you can actually pipe, and I've done it, is from the kiosk on Door Road.
Yep.
Behind the town park, there's actually a gate on the back of Chicken Park that is on above the top trail. And it skirts the park for the length of that, and it hooks up to a Forest Service road that comes out where the Sea Sheldon road is across the road. And I just noticed when I went there yesterday to walk my dog, that someone has put a green bay sign on the Sheldon Circle there. You know anything about that? But it was not previously there, but it. I had to chase some deer hunters out of there, so you can't shoot deer from a public trail. And they said, no, this is the Forest Service, and we want to get off the time.
Instead of, but if you make a left, that Greenway Trail, have you been to the boardwalk? You all know what I'm talking, anybody? No, it's over the marsh, right behind Family Cove Terrace. There is a boardwalk, this town paid money.
Yeah.
That boardwalk is in between the kiosk on Door Road and the other trail there that do.
So that's the Greenway Trail.
Yes,
Yeah.
and the town paid a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's across road.
So you're saying though that it's close though, right? I mean, that's it, the boardwalk.
You can walk from Door Road to the kiosk after the big turn, past down.
I got it.
You can walk all the way back to the Seton Sheldon Circle Trail. And you walk across the boardwalk, they're talking about.
If I may,
Yeah.
we should probably get back to discussing more of the board objectives.
If I'm happy to interfere with that. Wait for some days, then I need to go read bedtime story. We got all counts up here.
Thank you for being here.
Sure, guy. So I'm gonna excuse my beggar. But if you're just on my meeting, leave. I haven't been here for long. I don't know what you're thinking about the sweet spot as far as how we're long to get up there. But I don't know what the process is. But we're gonna let, I wish that we were like our group looked more like our that being said, thank you all for being here. Thanks for letting me leave.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mayor.
Back to board objectives.
Yeah, I would say if there's anything else, if there's anything the board wanted to ask the council to.
Well, I think the council's supposed to have a member on.
Yes,
the
I
board,
was gonna bring that up.
Yeah.
And. we have to
Frazier
do
was our
that.
rep from council to. I did not see anything specifically in the ordinance about that.
It's,
That's what's not there.
it's a slippery slope we talk about, because we should not bear undue influence on their seats. You are just like planning with the BZA, and I feel very confident that our presence should not be at planning with BZA. For this year, if I chose to show up for a meeting one night, well, she's never come to that meeting, why is she here for this, what's on that, I'm just,
Yeah.
I don't necessarily feel because you are, or as the chair currently the representative, you report to us what the proceedings were, because we don't really get a vote on what y'all are deciding. We get here, we don't get to vote until you present your recommendations. Now, we may vote against your recommendations and say go back to the drawing board. We don't like that. If you don't want one, that's your recommendation. I mean, then we can decide as a council. And then Paul might be like, I'm your guy. I want to do that.
Well, why don't we let me take that back to the board
Y'all
and
decide.
define the collectively, let us decide now. I don't think it's in there.
What we learned. You all went through some training with MASC,
No,
none?
no.
None.
Why does they want to put it in there? No, I have reached out to Desiree at MASC and she
Yeah.
will speak to us.
My very first month, we did this thing, which I know is just sit here. The title of it is, so you've been elected, now what do you do? And it's told us about forums. And if you have more than a forum, it's an official meeting. But I remember sitting in a session, a training session with MASC, and the gentleman, he was a mayor, it was a video. And he talked about the way things get done is there's conversations like, I want to, you had me over to your office and I better understood the profit and loss of an event. I mean, one-on-one type communication is encouraged. If you have more than four or more council, that's a quorum, and no, we don't want to go there because that's an official meeting and it's FOIA and everything. But communication is encouraged. But FOIA kind of throws a monkey wrench into it. So reach out.
If the board does desire to do that, we can discuss that too and have Desiree, who is our municipal rep, tailor it specifically for the park board, because the training was tailored towards the council and she could tailor it towards. We were thinking maybe for
May, I talked with Desiree and she said she's definitely open to speak to the board, just to give us all. I definitely don't have any public administration background, so.
Maybe you can just sit.
You do, yeah, I do. Try about five.
I don't know, I can ask.
Yeah, I would definitely have.
What Councilman Cross was asking is if you guys need to do the mandatory 6-hour training for anything, so anybody who's related to planning and zoning related matters on any of the boards and land use would need to go through a mandatory 6-hour training. I've only specifically seen that for just the planning and board of zoning appeals, but we can definitely check to ensure you guys are covered.
As well.
Yes, it does, but I was speaking in general for just the boards.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Or is it something no matter?
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Any other objectives?
Does the email situation, so one person would be, if we were to get a board email, one person would have access to that, or would all 8 of us have access to that? Is that a FOIA issue as well?
I would state that it would only have one person, and we could, the board can discuss who that one person maybe set up that password directly. Tonight I'll be contacting our IT contractor to have that set up specifically to be able to have email and then also have OneDrive access.
And this may just be getting caught up in the details of the weeds a little bit. For instance, let's take entrance 1. I've been getting quotes for site work. Chris has been getting quotes for fence. If he goes on his personal email, gets the quotes, sends them to my town, the town email address, we're all still covered there.
Yes, you can also just copy that.
Right.
And then same with copying my email address as well, would be saved to the town
It's
server.
just on the town server. Okay, that clarifies that.
But as we all know, not everybody does reply all. We're trying to, you might be trying to copy faster than on everything, but
Yeah,
something gets.
yeah, yeah.
But if it's on the town email system, she can get access to them.
Right.
Like if you won the lottery, they do like peace out and we don't have the
Yeah,
password.
right. I have no idea what she's been up to. Well, yeah, right.
She's gone, we don't ever.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Anything else? Have you got everybody here? Yeah, we're limited policy. Okay. Well, we can move on to number 6, schedule an additional meeting of unfinished business. I didn't put anything else on the agenda tonight. I know we have some things to discuss and some items that we want to flesh out. I just wanted to give space for this tonight. I'm definitely okay with having another meeting in January. We can call a special call. We've got some action items that we could work on. I'm in town until the 25th. 27th, sorry, I misspoke. We could do virtual. I prefer not.
Just so that the board is aware too, there is for like dates, there's the planning commission on the 20th, currently right now, there's also going to be a special call meeting on the 15th. The town council, there's a special call meeting on the 26th, there's a special call meeting of the planning commission on the 27th. That's
So
going
it
to
would be
be
21st, 22nd. 14th. I mean, we can push it to February.
All these posts on the town's website.
They are, the 15th will be posted on the town's website. Yeah. Yes, there, I'm looking at the community calendar right now.
If you go for town council,
And
so could we?
So like, you would look at the 21st through the 22nd, or you'd be looking at the 28th or the 29th. Unless. If the board, I mean, if we don't have town hall open on Fridays, that's why I didn't listen.
Right,
Why don't we look at the 21st or 22nd?
What is this?
so we would do our fee schedule, our event agreements, quotes for the signs. I feel like I'm missing another agenda item there. Are you fine? Yeah,
Yeah, I've got.
Yeah.
We can look at, I mean, maybe the first Tuesday before the town council meeting, is that?
In
That would be
February,
February 3rd.
and then we'd still have our meeting on the 10th.
I'm okay possibly to do, this is just in person, it should be, virtual or I would recommend it. So.
We've already else.
One day to do that. I'm already.
So either February 3rd. Or January 21st or 22nd,
And this would be just for full clarity, this would be just for the board.
just,
Yes.
but I would like to flush out some of those issues and get, so that I can present that to council on the 5th. If we vote on the gates, the user agreements, that stuff, that's a lot that I can take to them on the 5th.
I'm not here on the 3rd, but go ahead, and do it. That's fine.
What about the 21st or the 22nd? Got a consensus on that?
Works for me.
21st, Wednesday? Just putting it out there, 6 o'clock,
Sure.
all right. I need a motion to make that,
I can put this in. Done it.
okay, a second, those agree?
Aye.
Aye.
That was the 21st.
That's the 21st at 6 P.M.
Maybe phone. Maybe phone.
But I can get with, I mean, yeah, we'll talk about them. Okay, number 7, public comments. Linda Greenland's not here, but she has something prepared, right? I don't have it.
Yes, that was sent to all members of the board. Lynn Vickery did request previously to the meeting that to be listed as a public comment. She was unable to make it tonight and she submitted her comment electronically to the board and that's distributed.
I got it.
Do you have me read it?
Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah.
I'm sure that I have an eye problem.
If you can pull it up, I'll
Let
read
me see if I,
it. I've got,
you have it?
oh, you got a copy too.
So for her public comment, it's stated to the chair and the members of the Allendale Park Board, thank you for thank you for your service and dedication to the park and the town. I attended a workshop on Ayers property facilitated by the town. A woman from the forestry service spoke at that meeting about Ayers property management in conjunction with professional foresters, hoping to create a best plan for land management and income potential. She said that they walked the land with the property owners. They were hands-on, not desk jockeys. That said, I was wondering if they might be able to advise or even coordinate on creating a living lab on a section of the park to show hands-on what can be done. Town residents would need to commit to implementing recommendations on a volunteer basis, making ownership and pride of the place the goal. The park cannot sustain unanticipated events alone. Passive uses could potentially include a living lab, a butterfly garden, and perhaps a nursery with seedlings, and that could be pre-ordered for a specific event or sold or donated bare root to populate the town with all park seedlings and saplings. This would not be a staffed nursery, to be clear, but a project to grow and have a share day at the park. Long-term, the park needs a solid set of drawings, much like a golf course needs a course designer. Until we are at that stage, creating a come to look at this, or come to help with this, or come to see what can be done, come to get a milkweed plant might be a part of creating a community engagement. These are just some thoughts, and I wanted to share. They might have merit or not. Perhaps I planted a seed of an idea that you can run with that. And that was from Lynn Vickery on Twitter.
Thank you, Lauren. Any other public comments? We got number 8, board member comments? No. Yeah, Manon, we have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thanks.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council Myers, for coming.
Yes, sure. Yes. Can you do that?
Next section. He speaks. He speaks. I made a motion. She called you.
She's trying to.
Hey guys, real quick, everyone.
Hey, council has to make a motion to adjourn second. We all vote to adjourn.